it's a family rift. It's a very, very sad one, a very, very prominent one.
King Charles is heartbroken because he never gets to see his grandchildren, Archie and Lilibet. It's been over a year since they last visited him in the UK, and it doesn't seem like that will change anytime soon either. Are Harry and Meghan keeping their kids away from their grandpa? What's actually going on here? Ever since Harry and Meghan moved to the US, it's been hard for the rest of the royal family to see Archie and Lilibet, and it makes sense to some degree. Harry and Meghan live in LA, and so do their kids. That's half the world away from the UK. But still, you would expect them to visit the royal family at least sometimes. Especially because Charles is Archie and Lilibet's grandpa, and surely they should get to see their grandpa at least a couple of times a year. But Charles hasn't actually seen them even once in 2023 so far, and the last time he did see them was over a year and a half ago. It was back in June 2022. Back then, it was still Queen Elizabeth on the throne. It was actually during her Platinum Jubilee celebrations that Harry and Meghan visited the UK with their kids. The celebrations lasted for months. They started in February because that's when Elizabeth actually reached 70 years on the throne. And right as the celebrations were ending in June, that's when Harry and Meghan brought their kids over. It was also right around the time Lilibet turned 1 year old. So Queen Elizabeth's Jubilee wasn't the only thing to celebrate. And the thing is, this was actually Lilibet's first time being in the UK. Unlike her brother Archie, she was born after her parents moved to the US. Her birthplace is actually Santa Barbara, California. Even though she's a princess of the United Kingdom, she's actually only visited the country once, because that one visit for Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee and Lilibet's first birthday was actually the only time she's been to the UK, and it was also the only time Charles actually got to see her in person. Things are a little different when it comes to Archie, mainly because he was actually born in London and lived there as a baby. So in the beginning, Charles actually got to see him quite a lot. But Archie wasn't even 1 year old when Harry and Meghan moved to the US with him. And since then, it's been a similar story to Lilibet's. Charles just hasn't gotten to see either of them much at all. And that's especially sad because of how quickly young kids actually change. Archie and Lilibet are both growing up by the day, and Charles is just completely out of the loop on how that's going. He might be getting updates over the phone or in some other remote way, but it's just not the same thing as seeing the kids in front of him. And according to an insider source, he's apparently pretty heartbroken about that. But even though he would really like to see them, it's not like he can just come visit them in the US. For one, he's really busy with his work in the UK. Now that he's king, he has a lot of responsibilities, especially since he's still pretty new in the role. But maybe even more importantly, it's not really like he could just visit the US like it's nothing. The king of the UK visiting the States is always going to be a big deal. A visit like that would have to involve some sort of official ceremony. Being the king, he can't just pop over to a different country like that, least of all when that country is the US. And I guess he could make it a whole official visit just to see Archie and Lilibet, but that would require a lot of planning and time. And the other thing is, Harry and Meghan would actually have to invite him to visit. Even for a king, it would still be pretty rude to show up at his son's family's home uninvited. No, the much more practical option is for Harry and Meghan to bring Archie and Lilibet over to the UK, and they just haven't been doing that. They didn't come to visit for the holidays last year. And even for Charles's coronation back in May of this year, Archie and Lilibet stayed back in the US. Harry did actually come to the coronation, although without Meghan. But with everything that went down between him and the rest of the family, it wasn't completely certain that he would actually show up. Ever since he and Meghan moved to the US, there's been a huge rift between him and Charles, because Harry said a lot of things that really didn't reflect well on the royal family. And then it all got so much worse when he released his memoir, Spare. And with everything he revealed in the book, it really seemed like that might have been the final blow to his relationship with Charles and the whole royal family. And obviously, that wasn't actually the end of his relationship with the family. He is still very much part of the family. You see it in even the fact that he was invited and came to the coronation. And Harry has been saying for a while now that he would like to reconnect with the royals, but that apparently just doesn't mean he'll bring the kids over to visit. He didn't do that even when he was in Europe this September for the Invictus Games. And this time, Meghan even joined him too. But they still left the kids back in the US and had someone else watch them. And it seems like they're not planning to bring them for a visit anytime soon. Rumors say that Harry and Meghan won't be visiting this year for the holidays either, and not even for the celebrations of Charles' 75th birthday. There was actually a report that said that Harry and Meghan turned down an invitation to that, but then a spokesperson for them came forward and said that they did no such thing. According to the spokesperson, Harry and Meghan didn't actually get an invitation, and obviously neither did their kids. And they're apparently not actually invited to visit in December for the holidays either. And that actually kind of changes everything about the situation if you think about it. Because if Charles really is heartbroken about not seeing the kids, why doesn't he invite them over for the holidays? And there is still the question of would Harry and Meghan actually accept the invite and bring the kids? And maybe they wouldn't, but I also think there's a good chance they would. even if it was just Harry coming over with them if Meghan didn't want to go. She might not feel that welcome by the royal family because of her history with them, so it would be understandable if she didn't want to come. But either way, neither Meghan nor Harry are going to visit if they're not invited. It might be that Charles doesn't want to invite them because of the whole feud that's been going on. Maybe he wants Harry to be the first one to reach out and say sorry, but that honestly seems like a silly thing to miss out on his grandkids growing up for. Although the whole thing is definitely more complicated than that because this is the royal family we're talking about. And an insider source says that Charles knows he doesn't always do the best job as a dad. He will apparently even admit that in private to both Harry and William. But somehow he and William are able to get along, but there's still a massive rift between him and Harry. Although that might just be because William is the next in line for the throne and also lives in the UK, so he can't really be feuding with the current king. Not if the monarchy is supposed to seem strong and stable. But even William is apparently not too happy about how Charles is with his kids. There have been rumors that Charles just doesn't really have much time for them, and William would apparently like his dad to actually be a grandpa to them and spend some quality time with them. But then again, Charles is the king of a country, so he doesn't have much time for anything. But anyway, what do you guys think? Do you think Charles should invite Harry and Meghan's family over for a visit? Let me know in the comments below.